My name is Michelle Washington, TV style expert and fashion stylist. I've worked with countless brands and seen the ins and outs of the fashion industry. Now, I want to bring their stories to you. Join me as we take a deeper look at the journeys of Texas fashion designers and apparel industry professionals and learn just what it takes to make it as a brand. Welcome back to another episode of Behind the Seams. I'm your host, Michelle Washington, and do not adjust your screens because the fashion revolution is being televised. Today, I am here with a great guest, Libby Tolm of Elite Knitting. Libby, how are you? And thank you for being here.
I'm great, thank you, Michelle. I'm so delighted to be here too.
Now, first off, this sweater is fire.
Thank you. Thank you. I made it specifically for this.
Oh, what, you made it for the, oh, I feel so special. Okay, Libby.
Yes, I wanted to do something special for this episode, so the sweater kind of came to life.
Well, we thank you. Well, let me say, someone who can knit their own sweater for a segment deserves to be a founder and a CEO.
Thank you. I hope so.
Well, I'm so fascinated by your founder story. So, how did you get started?
Oh, I started when I used to work at the studio similar to ours when I just came to US, and my mom used to work there for 10 years before, and in 2012 she left her job and she was looking for a different one, but she couldn't find anything, and she didn't really do anything besides knitting for many, many years. When I was in school, she was teaching knitting. She was doing after-school programs where she was teaching kids to knit and crochet, and I just felt bad because was what she loved and what she wanted to do. So I thought, why don't we do it on our own? And we called a couple of interns that we worked with, and they found the jobs with different designers. One of them worked at the independent designer, and they gave us a chance. And since then, we did one project, then two projects, then kind of that's how it went on. And I've been loving it ever since.
Loving it, and we love your designs.
Thank you.
But there's another backstory. You have a degree that filtered into the fashion industry. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so I never thought I will be in fashion. Actually, it was never on my radar. I went to school to study accounting. Accounting was too boring for me, so I graduated in finance and investment because financial analysis was more thrilling and very exciting, and it was a part of intuition process that I really liked. So I actually wanted to be an investment banker when I was in college.
Okay, all right. I can see this connecting the dots.
Yeah, but then I had a really good friend who said, you shouldn't really do that because with your ambition, you probably will get a heart attack by 50. And I really didn't want to.
But accounting has to be something that you are really finding a use for now as a business owner.
I do. I really, ever since I started, my business classes, all my business courses, my wonderful professors in accounting, in every economics, micro, macro, whatever you call it. And Baruch College actually has all of the professors that came from the field. So they were sharing their real business stories. Wow. So I was absorbing it, and as a new owner, I was just using anything I heard in class and was trying to figure out how to do it.
Wow.
But 12 years later, I still remember some of the things that I learned in school and still use it, and it's been helpful. The accounting comes helpful at the end of the year when we have to get our taxes done and our books balanced.
Exactly. There's nothing small about your business, so
Yeah.
I can see how that accounting came in handy.
Well, how has your brand evolved?
So we started with the small projects. We actually love doing the graduation projects for Parsons School students. That was a few of our very, very first things. And then we did samples, small production runs, like up to 10 pieces. And we always give most priority to the customers that we work with. So they are compelled to recommend us. And I've been working mostly on referral basis because, you know, in fashion community, everybody knows everybody. And whenever the new knitwear designer starts and they have friends, we get thankfully recommended to them. And that way we work with the most wonderful people because, you know, your friend group is mostly as you are. So it's been just a great journey from very start.
Your journey has actually touched the paths of others. Tell me more about your work with Ukraine.
Yes, so my production, as we grew, we had a need for more sample makers and to do the production runs because we sometimes had over 100 pieces and it was impossible just to do in a studio with the resources that we've had.
Wow.
So we started working with a team in Ukraine. It was a small team at first, but over the years it grew to have 70 sample makers in 4 different cities. So, and they are like family because, you know, when you do 4 seasons a year for 10 years, you get to know each other very well.
Absolutely.
So when the war started and a lot of cities got affected and we didn't know if we can work with them again or not, especially with their situation, like getting bombed and not knowing where they're going to be the next day. So that was tough, but they were okay. All of our people are okay. They did lose some family members, and we tried to help them as much as we could. But they wanted to work, and we had to find ways to start working with them again. So we did local shipment companies for a little bit. Like there are a few that ship directly from US to Ukraine. And now the DHL is back in business there, so we started to do our normal production as we would before.
What I love about Elite Knitting is that you consider the people that you work with family.
Yes. Oh, I would not be here without the people I work with. I have the most wonderful people that's been with me in Brooklyn when we were there. Some still help us a lot if we need hands-on when I go there. And the people I work with here are just like, I would not consider myself being this successful if I didn't have them. It's only thanks to the team that I have that really supports everything that we do.
Well, speaking of success, I want to hear more about this wonderful client I've heard you have, Oscar de la Renta.
Yes, so that's also a very interesting story because I wanted to work with Oscar. When I was at the studio that I started, they had Oscar de la Renta as their client, and they were doing sweaters that I've never seen in my life before. I didn't think anything can be knitted like that. And it was a dream of mine to work with them one day. It was like, it would be a pinnacle of our career if I would get Oscar de la Renta as my client. So I do not approach customers just because I don't know what they want. I don't know if they're ready for handmade. I don't know if they have designers who work with handmade. So I wouldn't go and solicit a customer. I wouldn't try to like push something that we do or just even just go there and kind of find out if they want to work with us because you don't know. And I don't want to persuade anybody who isn't ready to do that. But I always give 100% of my time and my effort to the customers that we have. And at some point we worked with Zach Posen, And his team was absolutely incredible. The entire design team, the knitwear design team, were just so lovely, and we loved working with them, even though it was only 2 seasons, but it was amazing. And after the quarantine, their head stylist went to work with Oscar de la Renta. He is on their team now, and he just brought us over and he introduced us, and we met the knitwear designer at Oscar, Deja Simpson. She is the loveliest, cheerful person who just absolutely adores knitting, and we clicked and we started one sweater at a time.
Well, let me get this straight. You have a celebrity designer collaboration profile going on. First, Zach Posen, now Oscar de la Renta. I'm sure there's something else on the hot list brewing in the bag, but I will not pull that out of you just yet. But the work that you do is so gorgeous.
Thank you. Thank you. It's years and years of developing new skills and trying to find new ways. Because in my opinion, when we work with a client, it is a collaboration. But I want to make sure that we showcase their ideas and we do something very specific to them. So when people buy it, they know it's Oscar, for example. They know that that craftsmanship is Oscar, or something that is Zach Posen, or when we worked with Derek Lam, they had very interesting perspectives. So we tried to make sure that this is exactly what people think of when they get and do it. So we developed some signature styles and signature stitches, and this is what I actually love doing with customers, when I know their vision and I know what their customers want, and then we can build up on that and find the new ways to elevate it.
I heard it's another celebrity name in there. You slipped it in on me.
I do. I keep we worked with so many different clients. Some of them we had long-lasting relationships, like many years in. Some we just did once or twice. Some just wanted showpieces. So I do forget who we worked with, but then when I remember the styles that we did, it's like, I do know that one.
So Derek Lam, Zach Posen, Oscar de la Renta.
Narciso Rodriguez.
Okay.
Calvin Klein.
Okay.
There were more. I have to go back. Gabriella Hearst.
Okay. Not too shabby. There's nothing small about your business.
But I do love working with emerging designers, and when they grow and kind of their vision grows with them, that's another passion of mine, I would say.
You didn't get to the level of success that you have now overnight, clearly. What would you say are the sacrifices you had to make to get here?
Oh, up until last year, I had a full-time job on top of all of this. So that if there is a hard time, or we have a bad season, or there's something going wrong with production, I have extra funds to cover it. That was one of the sacrifices. My sleepless nights are another one sometimes. Working weekends, holidays, no vacations, or working on vacations. My husband is not really happy about that, but he does understand.
We thank you for the understanding. Okay.
But yes, and I'm a perfectionist by nature, so every time something doesn't go the way I plan it to go, because you always have a perfect plan, but sometimes it just something happens, like a war or or a lost package somewhere, and it just has to be done. So I stress and I try to remake it and make it and keep the customers happy, even though I know that sometimes it may not be appreciated as much as I think it would, but I still try to do my best to deliver.
Well, you're not making any missteps because you keep getting great clients.
I do. I love my clients. I'm so fortunate to have worked with the clients that I had in the past and the ones that I have now. And I think that every time something goes wrong, I just say, I quit. I don't want to do this anymore. And then 3 hours later, I take a deep breath and I'm like, okay, what's next?
So you agree that what you do isn't easy by far. We have to love the fashion business.
Yeah.
And many designers, they sew. You knit. Why knitting versus sewing?
Knitting kind of found me. I never wanted to knit. My mom tried to teach me because she was teaching everybody at my school, but I was just not interested in knitting at all. I thought it was a little bit of a waste of time at the time because I liked science, so I was more interested in sitting in the books. But when I started working, and for the first 2 months, I was made to sew buttons because I couldn't knit or crochet or anything else. To this day, I hate buttons. I would give anybody any kind of money to sew buttons for me.
There's no buttons on this sweater.
Exactly. Anything I try to make has no buttons. The best closure I could put is a zipper.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yes, so I really wanted to make a dress that I could never afford. So I had to learn how to crochet. And since we started working, I just found a new love for craft, for what you can do with the stitches. And I teach my new employees that you don't need to know all the different techniques. You don't need to be a professional in crochet patterns. Crochet and knitting is 2 basic stitches. And if you know those, you can learn anything, literally.
Wow.
And I love teaching people that.
Maybe there's hope for me and my fingers and some knitting.
There is hope. You just need to work at it. It's like 12 years.
That's a while. That's a fine art study, a science, because so you have a background in finance, you love science, mathematics. This is all contributing.
I love learning. I'm really bad at math, though. I'm horrible at math. You would
You
think
were
that
accounting.
I was never in accounting. I dropped it as soon as I learned that it has to do with a lot of numbers.
Oh goodness.
But no, I'm pretty bad at math, and when people, especially my husband, when he sees me counting, because you need to calculate like how many stitches you need, how many rows, and it's a certain way, measurements, so you kind of calculate how many stitches, but then you need to add here and subtract there. So when I produce the final number, it's like, what kind of math is that?
No. It couldn't be a dislike of math because you do beautiful work
It's just
for
a
all
very
these
creative
different
math. Like everything I do, it's very creative.
beautifully creative. And the name, how did you come about Elite Knitting?
My mom actually came up with that. We wanted to be better than anything you've ever seen in knitwear. And this story, and I love it, I had a client who had a complaint from the store saying that they thought it was a handmade, but it looks absolutely identical in production, so they said it's made by machine. I'm like, oh my God, this is the best compliment I've ever heard. Because it was all handmade.
Wow.
It was made by our Ukrainian team.
Wow. Okay.
And that's how a lot of people that work with me, they get really afraid that if they don't have the skills, we won't be able to work together because we have very high demands. Like everything has to be exact. If the measurement is 32.5 centimeters, it has to be 32.5. It can be 35 or 31. No. But that's how you get fit that you want to get, especially when we work with production runs. And that's what always gets to me when you go to the stores these days, that you pick up two size mediums, and they're completely different.
Well, we won't say who the stores are.
But actually, you go to any store and you run this experiment, and that's how it's going to be. So when we make production, we make sure that the size medium fits the person who is the size medium. I have basically, I'm lucky and very fortunate that my sample makers range in sizes and heights. So I get to try every production unit on a real person and see how it looks.
In-house fittings, in-house
Pretty much.
fit models.
So we can make sure that everything is comfortable, especially like when you get to the larger sizes, like large, extra large, that everything looks great. The length is good. They feel good. They look confident and beautiful, and that's what we absolutely work with.
I'm gonna have to get a fitting at Elite Knitting. Okay, I don't mean for that to rhyme.
And I keep saying that I love our units in production. They look best on extra large because all the stitches are showing and like all the size, all the fits are there. It's just, if it looks great in large sizes, it will look great on extra small.
There's no shame in my game. That's my size, and I'm glad that they look good on me.
Yes, see?
Okay. Well, with all of your experience and all of your business success, what would you say to your younger self?
I would say keep your head leveled, because I get very emotional sometimes, and I know that causes more issues than solves problems. So sometimes if I take an extra day to breathe and think, I get it done better. Then I overreact, and then I overspend, and then I get into a lot of other issues. So just take a breath. Everything's gonna be okay, and just take a minute to think about it.
I love it. Well, as we wrap up, what would you have to say to our viewers?
I would say know where your clothes is coming from. Be curious who is making what you're wearing, because it's important. There are actual people behind every garment, and they spend hours and days of their life making it, and they should be recognized. They put their effort, they put their passion into it. And the worst story that I have is that when I was looking to cover up the Ukrainian team when the war started, we were trying to find a team here in the US to do production orders. And when I put up the ad that I'm looking for knitters, and I put up the picture of Oscar de la Renta dresses that we made to show the quality, the actual workload that will be needed, I was called a scam. I was said that it's impossible to make those by hand, and that nobody would pay people to make those. And it was really hurtful. It really hurt my feelings, because most of those I made. And my team in studio. And they didn't even ask, they didn't even message me, they didn't ask any questions. They just assumed that nobody would pay and nobody would do that, and it's impossible. But to this day, I didn't find a full production team in the US. And I worked with a Peru team who also had very big trust issues because they haven't been paid by previous clients. And it took a long time to build the trust with them. And I just want people to know who's making the clothes. And next time something like this happens, we can find each other, we can know about each other, and have the people who deserve the beautiful embroideries from India and macrames from Italy and knitwear from US recognized. And hopefully we get to talk to each other more and talk to the customers who wear it, and all be appreciated.
Well said. Well, the fashion industry is full of challenges. And as you make that climb to the top, just remember, it was worth every stitch. For now, Libby is a shining success, and her company will keep going on for years and years. And these are sage words coming from a successful designer and successful CEO and founder. And remember, a smile is always in style. Keep it fashionable.